Good morning, students. This is JC Benoy, your SST teacher. Hope you're all doing well and are taking care of yourselves and have finally started taking interest in your studies. That's what I hope. I hope you're all doing your work also and doing the assignments that we are sending you. All right. So today we are going to continue with the chapter that we had started with, and that was the United Nations. In the previous video we studied about what the United Nations does, what is it, how was it formed. We studied a little bit of the history of the formation of the United Nations. So today we are going to continue with the United Nations. It is our chapter 15 of SST. And this is for grade 5. Alright, so chapter 15 of grade 5 SST. Alright, so we are going to continue with our chapter. Now this picture, in the previous video I had stopped where I had told you about the different organs of the United Nations. And why does the United Nations need different organs? That's because you cannot do everything. One person cannot do everything. Similarly, in the way, one organization cannot take care of a huge group of activities. So to better work, to make work much more efficient and to reach more people so that the help can finally reach the people who need it the most. So for all these, taking all these things into consideration, the United Nations has some specialized organs. Now we are today going to start with the organs. I had told you which those organs were, and first organ that we're going to start with is of the General Assembly. This image which I have shared on screen is that of the United Nations Assembly, and this is where the General Assemblies take place. Now what happens during these General Assemblies? So which is the first organ of the United Nations? The General Assembly. And the General Assembly is the main organ of United Nations, and it is an assembly where all the members of the United Nations come to attend their meetings. Alright, so it is the assembly where all the members of the United Nations, I had told you there were 51 founding members of the United Nations. Today the number is much larger. All these countries come together for their meetings during the General Assembly. Now when does they have a specific period to conduct these meetings. These meetings are held between September and December. Alright, so when are the General Assembly meetings usually held for the member countries? These are between September and December. All member countries have to come together and attend these General Assembly meetings. Alright, and each country has one vote. So whatever they discuss in the assemblies during these meetings, each country has one vote. So every country gets a chance to vote for the topic of discussion or for the issue that is being discussed in the United Nations Assembly meeting. Alright, apart from this, now if you are voting, that means that the vote is going to be counted. So as usual in democracy, when voting is done, you count the number of votes, and whoever gets the majority, that party wins or forms the government. Similarly, in the General Assembly also, whichever topic gets, if it's a yes or no question, whichever topic gets the majority votes, that issue gets passed or approved. Alright, and these decisions are permanent, they are binding. When I say binding, it means it is permanent. Those decisions cannot be reconsidered or rethought of. Okay, and the General Assembly also elects the non-permanent members. What does that mean? In the United Nations, in the assemblies, countries want to join the General Assembly. Alright, they want to come and participate in these meetings, but because they were not a part of the founding members, they are not considered as permanent. They have some criteria to be considered permanent. Alright, so in such case, to include new countries or new member countries into the General Assembly, they have a meeting. So this, a voting, an election, all right, and so these elections are also conducted during the General Assembly, and once that that admission gets approved, that vote gets approved, only then that country can become a non-permanent member. So that election does not give the country the right to become a member permanently. All right, so this election for non-permanent member countries also takes place during the General Assembly. Now, apart from this, the General Assembly also elects for the non-permanent members, like I told you, of the Security Council and the ECOSOC. We are going to learn about the Security Council and the ECOSOC, but what you need to remember right now is that the General Assembly, one, votes on different issues for the benefit of the world, and here all the member countries of the United Nations can come and vote, all right, and they can pass an issue. Similarly, they also elect for the non-permanent member countries of the United Nations. So that is the way to include non-member countries. Apart from this, they also vote for non-member countries to become a part of the ECOSOC and the Security Council. Now, what is the Security Council and the ECOSOC? That we are just going to go through right now. All right. So, like I said, the Security Council. Now, the Security Council is another part of the United Nations. It is an organ of the United Nations, and it is an important organization because it takes care of security. When you say security, it means defense, all right, protection. It defends all the countries of the world because it is the job of the United Nations to take care of international peace, all right. So it is a principal organ. That means that it is an important organ of the United Nations. So what is their job? What does the Security Council do? It maintains international peace and security, like I had said in the previous video also. So it means that the Security Council is supposed to take all those necessary steps to ensure or to see to it that there is international peace. If there is any issue in any country, then they are supposed to take care of this peace and security issue. All right. Apart from this, it has a peacekeeping force. The United Nations Security Council is in charge of the peacekeeping force. So what is that? It is the peacekeeping force is obviously a group of soldiers. It is the army of the United Nations which they send to the countries which are in need of protection or if additional support. Alright, so the Security Council takes the decision about whether to send these peacekeeping force to those countries, and if there is a war kind of a situation, it sends this these peacekeeping forces to those countries so that they can be better protected. Alright, apart from this, it also takes military actions and international sanctions against nations. Now, what does that mean? It means that military actions, in case there is a war, then they send this peacekeeping of forces, and if there's a war, then they try to resolve those issues. And also they take sanctions against countries. That means what? In case a country instigates a war or keeps attacking another member country. So what will the United Nations do? They all get together in their assemblies, in their meetings, and they take decision that we will not conduct business possibly. So that could be one decision that the United Nations Security Council could take. They can sit together and they can decide not to send certain things to these countries, all right, who are breaking the law or who are becoming a threat to international security. So these are the different sanctions. These restrictions which the United Nations Security Council imposes on the countries or forces on those countries is called as sanction against those nations. Is that understood? So the word sanction here is actually sort of a restriction that is imposed or forced upon a country for bad discipline, basically. All right. Now, apart from this, what does the Security Council do? The Security Council acts against any country which is trying to disrupt peace, which is trying to create a threat which is trying to disturb the peace of the world. So that those actions are taken by the Security Council. How many members are there in the Security Council? There are 15 permanent members of Security Council. And like I said in the previous topic, that is about the General Assembly, we saw that in the General Assembly, the nations have the right to choose for non-permanent members of the Security Council also. So we have 15 permanent member countries in the Security Council. Apart from this, we also have the non-permanent members who are selected in the General Assembly. Alright. Now, who are the permanent members? Now, some of the permanent members are the USA, which is United States of America, United Kingdom, Russia, France and China. These are the permanent members of the Security Council. Alright. And these are permanent and they have the right to veto. What does veto mean? Any of these 5 countries which I just said, United States of America, United Kingdom, Russia, France and China, they are the permanent members and they have the right to veto. So what does that mean? That means that in case there is an election or there is a vote on a certain topic or certain issue, then even if one country out of these 5, okay, USA, UK, Russia, France and China, if even one of these says no, that is a veto, then that means that issue gets rejected. It will not be considered any longer. Alright. So that is a right to veto. So what does that mean? You have the right to vote, where you are giving your vote and you are saying yes or no to a certain thing, a certain issue or certain matter. But a right to veto is where you completely say no or you reject an issue and it is just not considered any further. No other member country has the right to interfere there. Alright. So that's the right to veto. And which countries have the veto power? USA, UK, United States of America, United Kingdom, Russia, France and China. Please write down, and these are the names of the countries which you need to remember, that they have the right to veto any issue that is brought up in the Security Council. Alright. Now the 10 non-permanent, so 5 are permanent. So what about the rest of the 10 out of the 15 members of the Security Council? These are non-permanent members who are elected in the General Assembly, like I told you all earlier. So these are nominated by the General Assembly for 2 years and then they will be considered for re-election. Alright. So this is about the Security Council. Now I told you about another topic, that is the other organ of the United Nations, that is the ECOSOC. Now what is the ECOSOC? Economic and Social Council. So what's the full form of ECOSOC? Economic and Social Council. So ECO from economic and social council. So social, SO from social and C from council. So that is the full form of ECOSOC. So what does the ECOSOC do? The Economic and Social Council works all over the world to improve the living conditions of the entire world. So what is the job of the ECOSOC or the Economic and Social Council? It is supposed to take care to improve the conditions of living, that is the economy of countries all over the world. And higher standard of living, what does that mean? It means that the way the people live, to improve their way of living, that is improving higher standard, that is achieving higher standard of living. Now apart from this, now how can you improve someone's standard of living? You can do that only by giving them education, by giving them proper health, by helping them achieve self-respect, human rights, by taking care of all these social and economic issues. So that is why it is a part of the Economic and Social Council. And these are the things that the ECOSOC takes care of. Now there are 14, in the ECOSOC there are 14 specialized bodies. How many specialized bodies are there in the ECOSOC? 14 specialized bodies, and there are 5 regional commissions working under it. So that means what? There are 14 branches of the ECOSOC which take care of different aspects of trying to improve the standard of living of the people, the human right issues, the environmental issues, the economic issues. So they have different issues that need to be taken care of, and for this they have 14 different branches which are specifically taking care of those aspects, and each of these 14 specialized bodies are distributed in such a way that they have 5 regional commissions working under the ECOSOC to take care of all these matters. Alright. Now, apart from this, you have to remember that the ECOSOC has 54 nominated members out of the 193 members of the United Nations General Assembly. Alright. So, actually that tells you how many members are there in the United Nations General Assembly. Alright, United Nations, how many member countries do you think there are? Any idea? There are 193 member countries in the United Nations, and out of those member countries, how many are nominated by the ECOSOC? Only 54. Okay, so the ECOSOC has nominated 54 members out of the 193 member countries of the General Assembly. And these member countries are nominated for a period of 3 years, and after that another set of member countries will be nominated. And the ECOSOC conducts its meeting every year between April to July. Alright, so the meetings of the ECOSOC are conducted between April and July. So these are the different things that the ECOSOC takes care of. Now in this slide I have shared an image of the ECOSOC logo, and you can see that it is all about taking care of the people of the world, and it is the place, the ECOSOC is the place where all the problems related to economy and social development are talked about or discussed about, researched about, and they form plans and tasks to see that they can work in those countries to help improve the people's conditions, living conditions in those countries. So all this sustainable development, all these economic and social activities that need to be done to improve the lives of the people are taken care of by the ECOSOC. And what is the ECOSOC? It is the Economic and Social Council. This brings us to the next organ of the United Nations, the Trusteeship Council. Now, what is the Trusteeship Council? This is actually suspended. What does that mean? It is no longer functioning. Why? I'll just tell you that. Now, just to let you know, the Trusteeship Council was established in 1945. So, let's look at the history first. Okay. So, the Trusteeship Council was established in 1945. And what was the job of the Trusteeship Council? Now, 1945, you have to remember, was just the period when the Second World War ended, like I told you in the previous video. So, after the Second World War, the Trusteeship Council was formed to keep an eye, to supervise the countries of the who were the member of the United Nations. So, what was the job of the Trusteeship Council? It was to keep an eye or to supervise the actions of the member countries, some member countries, not all. And what were they supposed to do? They were supposed to take care of whether these member countries were, doing anything harmful that would be a threat to the peace of the world. Alright, so these were the things that the Trusteeship Council was supposed to take care of. And it was the aim of the Trusteeship Council was to see that the countries were able to become self-dependent. They were independent and not dependent on any other countries for their needs. And they were able to govern themselves. That means that these member countries were able to take their policy decisions freely and without any interference from other governments or other countries. Alright, so this was the job of the Trusteeship Council, and in 1994 it was felt that the Trusteeship Council had achieved its goals in the sense that it was able to monitor all the countries, some countries that needed to be monitored for their actions that the United Nations felt needed to be taken care of. Apart from that, it was also able to help some countries, many countries, to become independent, to help achieve their independence, and also to help have them self-governance, that they were able to govern their own countries on their own without any interference from any other country, or no foreign country was ruling their country. All right. So this was finally done by 1994, and once this target was achieved, the Trusteeship Council was dissolved. It was suspended. It was stopped. All right. So this is about the Trusteeship Council. Why was the Trusteeship Council formed? It was formed to help certain countries who are still not independent to become independent and to start governing themselves, to have their own government and their own policies without the interference of any foreign countries or any colonies, not being a colony. All right. And when did they achieve this target? In 1994, and that is when they dissolved the Trusteeship Council. All right. Now, coming to the next organ of the United Nations, and that is the International Court of Justice, because wherever you have countries, like at home we have arguments and fights, and then we go to our elders to get them resolved. Similarly, in a world which is so huge, obviously there's going to be some sort of an argument or some sort of an issue that needs to be resolved. So where will the countries go? So to do that, we have the International Court of Justice, and it is the organ of the United Nations which takes care of the justice system. Okay, it's the court system for the world. And what does it do? It settles the legal disputes according to international law. So we have international law in place, and if any of the countries feel that these laws have been broken, then there have been some disputes or arguments or conflicts, then all these complaints can be taken to the International Court of Justice, and there they have a panel of judges who sit and listen to the arguments presented by the lawyers of those countries, and accordingly they take decisions and they try to resolve those issues in the court of law, so that this can be done without any country going and attacking another country. Now, this image which I have shared is the headquarter of the International Court of Justice, which is in Hague, and that is in Netherlands. All right. So this is also called as the Peace Palace. All right. So this is the Peace Palace, which is in Hague, and Hague is in Netherlands. All right. So this is the headquarter of the International Court of Justice, which is in Hague, Netherlands, and it is called as the Peace Palace. Now, I told you that they have judges who listen to the cases in the International Court of Justice. So this is a panel of 15 judges. When I say panel, it means a group of judges who sit together to listen to the case. All right. So it is not only one judge who is listening to the case and taking decisions for those countries. So it is a group of 15 judges from different countries who are elected by the General Assembly again and the Security Council, and these judges are in office for 9 years. So that means that they can work as judges of the International Court of Justice for 9 years. After 9 years, another group of panel of judges is elected. All right. That brings us to the next organ of the United Nations, the Secretariat. Now, what is a Secretariat? It handles all the administration work, all the paperwork, all the coordination, all the different aspects of the United Nations. And it does all the day-to-day work that needs to be done for the United Nations. Such a huge organization cannot work efficiently if all those details are not taken care of, if it's not organized and if it's not coordinated. So to take care of that, the United Nations has a separate organ called the Secretariat, and they do all the day-to-day activities of the United Nations, and apart from that they have those different activities which I told you the different organs of United Nations develops. So it is the job of the Secretariat to take care, to monitor, to check whether these programs are being done properly, whether there are any changes needed, and all those researches and all those data is collected and checked and gone through by the Secretariat, and then accordingly all the reporting is done. All right. Now, the Secretariat uses 6 languages of the world for official work. So the Secretariat does not work in one language, it works in 6 different languages, so that there is no communication barrier in the United Nations. All right. This is the image of the Secretariat headquarters of the world. And which are the 6 languages that are used in the Secretariat? Okay, the Arabic, Chinese, English, French, Russian and Spanish. So which are the 6 languages used in the Secretariat? Russian, French, English, Chinese, Russian, Spanish and Arabic. Did I say Arabic? So Arabic, alright. So these are the 6 languages used in the Secretariat for keeping track of all the documentation and day-to-day activities that are carried out in the United Nations. Now, the Secretariat is led by the Chief Administrative Officer of the organization, who is called the Secretary General. And the Secretary General is a very important post in the United Nations. So, where the Secretary General is the head of the Secretariat, and he is the Chief Administration Officer, who is the current Secretary General. It is Antonio Guterres of Spain. Alright, so who is the current UN Secretary General? It is Antonio Guterres from Spain. Now, like I said, United Nations carries out different kinds of activities through these different organs. Now, apart from these, to take care of more details, they have other specialized agencies who take care of specific needs of the world. Let's have a look of what they are. So you have the United Nations Educational, Scientific, Cultural Organization, which is the UNESCO. And UNESCO takes care of the monuments, buildings, which are of cultural, scientific importance, so that and then it becomes a World Heritage Site. So if the UNESCO approves of a certain place in our country or any country, then that becomes an approved site of the UNESCO, and it is so that it protects the heritage of those countries. Now, why does that need to be done? Because sometimes you have governments which are not careful of taking care of those old monuments or of history. So that is why the UNESCO works as an important organization. Next is the UNICEF, which is the United Nations Children's Fund, and it too takes care of all activities that are targeting small children or children basically, for their education, for their food, for good living conditions, to stop child labor. These are activities that are carried out by the UNICEF, which is also a part of the United Nations. Apart from this, you have the International Labour Organization, which takes care of labor welfare of the laborers in the world. Next specialized agency is the Food and Agriculture Organization, which means that it is working towards for food and agriculture sector. So that is what the target of the United Nations, the Agency of Food and Agriculture Organization would be. And the next one is the World Health Organization. Now, I'm sure in recent times, even those who have not heard of WHO must have heard it by now. World Health Organization is also the acronym, or the short form is the WHO. So the World Health Organization takes care of world health. So like in the pandemic of the COVID-19 situation that happened right now, World Health Organization gave out a list of things that need to be taken care of, scientific method to take care of the people of the countries, so that they can protect the country, their people, their citizens from COVID-19. So this is the job of the World Health Organization. Apart from this, the World Health Organization also goes to the different countries to take care, to give out help for those who need help in those areas. So let's look at UNESCO. UNESCO was set up in 1945, and the headquarters is in Paris, France. All right, and this takes care of the scientific, educational and cultural culture of the countries. All right, that is the job of the United Nations. What does the UNICEF do? It is for every child. That is the logo of the poster of the UNICEF, and it was set up in 1946 to take care of the children of the world. So child welfare. All right. So in our country, we had the polio campaign, which was conducted by WHO. Apart from this, there was the child labor, stop child labor campaigns that were conducted by UNICEF. So they go to different countries and they run those campaigns. Now when I say campaign, it means an activity or a project that the organization takes to take care of the to achieve their targets or the goals that they have set for themselves. Now the headquarters of the UNICEF is in New York, which is in United Nations, or in USA. The next organization, the ILO, the headquarters is in Geneva, Switzerland, and it was formed in 1919 to take care of, to create a platform where the different countries could come together and bring their issues or differences, and so that it could be resolved. Like I said, Food and Agriculture Organization, this is the logo of Food and Agriculture Organization, and this is, their target is to see to it that that nobody in the world goes hungry. So they most of their projects and activities are in poor countries or in areas where the poor are not treated properly, or there is a food shortage, or in a country which is suffering through drought and have no food available. So these are the jobs, this is the job of the Food and Agriculture Organization, to take care and to improve and teach countries of how they can improve the forest or the agriculture of their countries. The headquarters of FAO is in Rome, which is in Italy. Now, WHO, like I said, is the World Health Organization, and it helps to bring together different people, the scientists, the doctors, the nurses, the medicines, or the machines that you need. So all these things need a lot of coordination to come to the country which needs it the most. So all this coordination is done by World Health Organization, and apart from this, they also take care of campaigns to protect. If there is a country which is suffering really badly in a particular disease, then they bring all the resources to help fight that disease, and they try to stop pandemics. But so it is the same with COVID-19. So the World Health Organization gave out instructions to the countries of how they need to protect the people, or what all resources need to be prepared so that they can take care or protect the citizens of their country. Now, apart from this, the United Nations also celebrates many special days. Now, we celebrate the World Environment Day, the Mother's Day, the Women's Day, then you have the Non-Violence Day, Human Rights Day, Mother Earth Day. So all these days are celebrated by the United Nations, and they have specific days for these celebrations. And why do we need these days? These days are to signify the importance of those organizations or of topics that they think need to be highlighted more. People need to be aware of such things. So that is why the United Nations started celebrating these days. So you have the International Mother's Day on 22nd April. And why did they think they needed to have a Mother's Day? That is because generally women are sidelined in many of the countries of the world, and they are not respected. That happens. So that is why in International Mother's Day is celebrated by the United Nations, and it is also to create an awareness among the people, alright, that they need to respect and take care of the women of the family. Next is the World Environment Day, which is celebrated on 5th June, and obviously the word environment says it all. It is to take care of the environment. So that is why the United Nations has run a lot of campaigns, a lot of programs to create an awareness among the people for to protect the world environment. So the importance of conservation of our forests, of our trees, of our animals, of our planet. All these are activities which are taken care of by the World Environment Day, in the sense that they use those days to highlight these important topics and to create an awareness in the general public, so that we all create a mentality or respect and learn to treat our environment respectfully. Next, we have the International Day of Non-Violence, which is on 2nd October, and you know that it is the day on which it is Mahatma Gandhi's birthday, right? So it is the day which is observed as the International Non-Violence Day, and it is observed to give as a respect to Mahatma Gandhi's contribution to world peace. all right. And so on that day they try to spread, we have programs related to spreading peace, trying to resolve to non-violence instead of using violent methods to resolve our issues. And finally, we have the Human Rights Day, which is celebrated on 10th December. And this day is to promote or to encourage people to respect people, all right, to treat people equally, whether they are of a different culture, whether they are from a different country, whether they are from a different race. So irrespective of all those, whether they are rich, whether they are poor, educated, illiterate, irrespective of all that, everybody deserves respect, and that comes through human rights. So Human Rights is the day where Human Rights Day is the day where United Nations tries to promote an awareness, create an awareness among all people to treat people respectfully, because which many of us seem to have forgotten. All right, so these are the different aspects of United Nations. You need to remember the organizations and the days that the United Nations celebrates to cultivate or to promote, to encourage people or to create awareness. So these are the campaigns or activities that the United Nations does to promote better life for the world, all right, for everybody in the world. So United Nations activities are not only for one country or for only certain kind of people. It is for everyone, for all countries, whether you are a woman or a child, whether you are a man, irrespective of all that, United Nations works for the benefit of all people of the world as well as the world. So that includes the environment, health, everything, all right. So these are the jobs of the United Nations. Go through it, go through both the videos of on United Nations thoroughly. I do not have a quick quiz today. I'll do that in the next video when I have a revision video on this topic. Alright, I hope you all have understood the topics. Please go through it again. Relate to the symbols that I have put up so that you can remember what a symbol could be telling you and why would it be important. Alright, so thank you. Have a nice day.